Hello, Holistic Chamber of Commerce family. Welcome to this Meet a Member segment. I have Ron Levinson and Amber Stroh here with me, and they're going to be talking about indoor health hazards that actually may be impacting our health, and we may not even realize that these things are there. So welcome, Ron and Amber, to our Meet a Member segment.
Good
All right,
morning.
Amber, so why don't you go ahead and start out, tell us a little, just briefly about yourself, and then however you want to proceed from there.
Okay, so my name is Amber. I've been with UV Cold Plasma for over a year, and you'll be hearing stories about my experience so far. I have a background in like a degree in community health education and business. And I'm very anxious to tell you all about these indoor health hazards that may be hurting you and your family. So, according to the EPA, each of us inside of our homes, schools, offices, and other indoor buildings are actually breathing in polluted air that is 2 to 5 times and up to 100 times worse than the outdoor air. This may come as a big surprise because we don't see the inside air pollution like when you know that there's smog outside and you visibly see the outdoor pollution. This is because it is comprised of chemicals that are actually off-gassing indoors. Each place will have a different assortment of chemicals in the air. We also are exposed to these chemicals from products that we use, such as like the infamous PCBs that we're all so afraid of and have been trying to avoid in the utensils and cups that we use. But many of us don't know that PCBs are not just in the utensils that we were using and drinking out of cups. They're heavily used in building construction. They were used a lot in the caulking from 1950 to 1979. This is actually a really big concern in the schools across our country because a lot of the schools are older buildings. And they have found when they're testing the air in schools that it's up to 1,000 times stronger than the outdoors and just PCB contamination.
So is that like the same thing, when you get like new furniture or something, sometimes it has, or mattresses, it has like this chemically smell. Is that kind of the same thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, the attraction to that new car smell isn't so great when you realize it's just like, oh, it smells so nice and new. No, actually, that's chemicals you're breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and scientists found, so in an observational study at the University Medical School in Pisa, Italy, they have been testing the breath, like the human exhaled breath actually contains several thousands of VOCs that vary in abundance and number. This is a quote that can show how our bodies are metabolizing them, including the ones that affect our nervous system. Analyzing what is breathed out can tell if you are can tell them if you are developing Alzheimer's disease. And they're also seeing that VOCs are linked to breast cancer and other things like Parkinson's disease and those things that affect our nervous systems, such as so if you have a manufactured home, high levels of formaldehyde and ethyl alcohol is extremely common, and that causes respiratory problems and cancer and nervous system damage and heart disease, can even cause psychiatric problems. So like during the pandemic, when we were all staying inside at home, not going out as often, we were actually breathing in a whole lot of chemicals that could have aided in on that depression after, like during the pandemic, and the just cancer and respiratory problems. And
So how did you get into this? Because you're here talking about this product, which we'll get into in a little bit. But you're here, you showed up, you're passionate about it. So tell us a little bit about like how you like got here.
So I was looking for someone to work with. I was fresh out of college, and I found Ron through Craigslist. He was wanting some help with marketing. And And I had to test out, like, what is this product actually about? Does this actually work? Because he was telling me all these amazing things, like you can run the machines 24/7 that our company offers. And they handle up to 3,000 square feet and destroy viruses that are in the air and on surfaces and bacteria, and just completely disinseminate the chemicals, and it's actually beneficial to breathe. So I asked Ron if I could borrow one, and I took it to my Airbnb. We had a room in my Airbnb that had been newly reconstructed and like rebuilt, and the walls had wood paneling that were stained. And so I put it in there. I'd been fighting to try to get the smell out of there because it smells so bad of stain. Like oil-based stuff can release these toxins for years. I put it in there. I turned it on. It was our PR20, the plasma reactor that covers 2,000 square feet. And the next day, I was completely surprised because it only smelled like wood in there for the first time since the room had been built. I was like, oh, I can actually smell the wood and not just stain. It was really amazing. It blew my mind. And then after that, like our family, we have some nursing homes in Texas, and they were at the height of the COVID outbreak, which was really scary for old people during the pandemic. And they installed units in the hallways so people could just open their doors. And then in the COVID patient rooms, they put one right in there just to make sure that they were getting the benefits. And there was this, for one, it stopped it completely from spreading, just stopped it in its tracks. They didn't have any more patients catching COVID. And then one of the residents, he had pulmonary fibrosis for years before that, and then developed COVID pneumonia. It was really scary, but his daughter said that within the week he started like getting better, and now he's completely restored to a state from before. Like she says, she hasn't seen him breathe so easy in years, like better than before he caught COVID.
Wow, yeah. And here's the thing, COVID's not going away. And even now, like with little kids, there's like this new respiratory thing going around. And what you're talking about, you talked about cancer and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, but, respiratory infections, all this stuff that we breathe, I can imagine all of that really impacts our lungs, and how healthy are our lungs, and how can they withhold getting a virus like COVID.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, we're already combating respiratory issues just without COVID. I
Mhm.
recently sold a unit to this couple named Chris and Roy Price, that I had known from church when I was a kid. And they brought it home. They have an RV, um, and they had issues like with coughing all night. They were really struggling, and they experienced benefits the first night because they installed it right above their bed. And Chris said she completely quit coughing that night, and Roy only coughed a couple times. And as the week went on, like it's eating through whatever chemicals and bacteria or mold that end up in our environment. And now Ron isn't coughing at all, and they're just having nice, peaceful sleep through
Yeah,
the night.
that's amazing. Now, what you're describing sounds like an air purifier, but I know that this goes like way beyond. So, can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll say a little bit, and then I know that Ron is really passionate about this, and so I'll hand it off to Ron. Inside these machines is a really high voltage UVC bulb that you can't, like, would damage your eyesight. I know people are starting to get familiar with UVC, like you see the UVC wands that can kill stuff from surfaces. This is a really high amperage bulb, so bright you can't look at it, and it reacts with a special blend of metals that are in there to produce cold oxygen plasma. So this is something that is like a superoxide blend that goes out in your whole room and seeks and destroys. Like it's superoxide, so it's just cleansing everything. Like so much healthier and faster than bleach, for instance. Ron, Would you like to say how this is different from the other air purifiers?
Sure. Yeah. The way all air purifiers work, bar none, a lot of smoke and mirrors, air has to pass through their chamber. All it's cleaning is the little bit of air can pass through their so-called filter systems underneath their plasma or UVC bulb. That's what it cleans. Okay. So you're only doing maybe 50 square feet to 150, 200 square feet at the most. With cold plasma, it seeks and destroys. There's no filters. There's no maintenance. It builds up. So what it does is it goes with airflow. It goes everywhere that air goes. It's literally sterilizing every surface in your atmosphere 24/7, including your lungs and your nasal passages. That's why it kills the viruses in less than a second. That's why you can't spread the virus from person to person with this. Cold plasma sterilization is not new. It's been around for 30, 40 years. It's what they've been used in hospital operating rooms for years. It's the fastest, strongest, safest form of sterilization known to man. The company that Amber and I represent, they're the only company in the world that holds the patent to this technology. It's amazing. We also, offer a free trial with them. We've saved people's lives, as Amber explained. We've saved people's lives. I personally got involved in it 17 years ago by accident, and I was very sickly as a kid. I had colds and sinus infections and bronchitis yearly all the time. Well, I haven't been sick in 17 years. Not a cold, not a flu, not even the sniffles. And I proved it to Amber and many people in the interim of what this can do. Amber, you have a unit to show the size of it? It's only about the size of a toaster.
Well, I love that you said that there's like no filter to change out, because I think a lot of people buy air purifiers and then they use it, and then all of a sudden the air filter, and then it's like a pain in the ass to go buy another one. And
you got to buy the filters. There's cost involved in other air purifiers, but we have numerous articles stating now, since the pandemic, they say purifiers has popped up like mushrooms. People have to understand, science has proven that it's the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, which everyone has in their homes, which is creating almost every disease known to man. This eliminates all of that. There is no air purifier that can do that.
Right. So it's almost like an air purifier, but on steroids.
Well, yeah, you change a bulb every 80,000 hours is the maintenance. Yeah. It's I don't call it a purifier. I call it a sterilizer because it's sterilizing even your ventilation systems. It will never let mold grow. We're in Portland, Oregon, and we have a high problem with radon here in the Oregon area. This process even eliminates radon, mustard gas, cyanide, it's carbon monoxide. So anything that could possibly kill you, this process neutralizes. Anyhow, so it's a safety feature also.
It looks like it's only the size of like a laptop. I mean, it's super portable. Yeah. Wow.
About the size of a toaster, we tell people. You change a bulb every 80,000 hours, that's it. And it tells you when to do that. They're 12 volts with an adapter, so they use very little power.
Yeah.
I travel with mine. I take them to the hotel. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great. So Robert just typed in, what is the process? So Roberto, sorry. We are coming up on the end here, but someone can call you, right? And get a free consultation. Because here's the thing, there's a lot of technical specifications to this. So if anybody is interested in learning more, you definitely want to reach out to Ron or Amber to have a phone conversation, because they're going to be able to answer your questions more in detail than what we have time for here. Is that accurate for you guys? A free call? Okay. All right. So I'm going to put that information in the chat here. So Roberto, go ahead and grab the phone number. You can also go to their website, and anybody can learn more off of your website. about this sterilization process. I really like that instead of air purification, sterilization. That makes so much sense. Yeah. Any last minute, like 10 seconds you want to give our viewers before we sign off for today?
All I can say is we've changed a lot of people's lives. Cold plasma is going to be the future of medicine. They're using it now for killing cancer. You can read all about it. Science is now, I've been involved in it for 17 years, but in the last 2 or 3 years, science has now evolved with it, and it's going to be the future of medicine. You can read all about it and what it does.
Yes,
it's very inexpensive. It's very inexpensive technology.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've adapted cold plasma into many different forms. Like they have boxes for sterilizing medical tools where they just throw the tools in there and it sterilizes the tools. They've been sterilizing microchips with plasma beams since the 90s, 80s, 90s. So this is the full room sterilization method. It's like it's the only thing out there like this.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
I was going to say, all they got to do is Google cold plasma sterilization, the benefits. They'll see all these different things pop up. It's amazing.
All right. We'll send them to your website and get them on the phone with you, because it'd be much easier probably if you could just explain in plain English. Because for some of us, we're like, wait, what? What is all this stuff? So those of you watching, if you're interested, please sign up for a call with either Ron or Amber. And Ron and Amber, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing this amazing technology that most of us probably have never heard of. So thank you so much. And anybody tuning in, thank you, Holistic Chamber people. Have a great rest of your day.